They say betrayal always comes from the people we trust the most. For me, it wasn't a stranger. It was my husband. It was my best friend. And when their secret destroyed my world, I didn't cry for long. Because what they never expected was my revenge. The camera fades in on a quiet suburban street in Massachusetts. Morning light spills across perfectly trimmed lawns, white fences, and mailboxes that stand like soldiers at attention. Birds chirp, a school bus rumbles in the distance. And inside one of those modest houses lives Emily Carter, a woman who, from the outside, seems to have everything the American dream promises. She's 32, with chestnut brown hair, a bright smile, and an energy that fills every corner of a room. Emily is the kind of woman neighbors adore. She bakes cookies for the kids next door, volunteers at the community center, and always remembers birthdays. Her husband, Daniel Carter, is a successful financial advisor. Tall, charming, ambitious. Together, they look like the perfect couple from a glossy magazine cover. They have a 6-year-old daughter, Lily, who Emily adores more than life itself. Every morning, Emily wakes early. She cooks breakfast, braids Lily's hair, and kisses Daniel goodbye before he rushes off to work. She works part-time at a publishing house, editing manuscripts, but her real joy comes from painting. Her art studio tucked into the attic is her secret sanctuary. Life seems stable, secure, happy. But happiness has a strange way of blinding us to the cracks forming beneath the surface. One warm Saturday, Emily throws a backyard barbecue. Friends laugh, the grill sizzles, Lily splashes in a kiddie pool. Among the guests is Claire Benson, Emily's childhood best friend. Blonde, confident, with a laugh that turns heads. Claire has been part of Emily's life since middle school. She knows Emily's secrets, her fears, her dreams. To Emily, Claire is not just a friend, she's family. The kind of bond built on sleepovers, heartbreaks, and whispered promises under the stars. And yet, as Emily watches Claire and Daniel laughing together near the grill, a flicker of unease tugs at her chest. Daniel leans a little too close, Claire touches his arm a little too long. Emily brushes it off. Don't be silly, she tells herself. That's Daniel. That's Claire. The two people I trust most in the world. Later that night, while tucking Lily into bed, Emily reflects on her life. She thinks about the rough childhood she endured, an alcoholic father, a broken home, and how she swore she would one day build something better. And she did. She built a family. A home filled with warmth and laughter. She whispers to Lily, "I'll always protect you. Mommy will never let this world hurt you." It is a promise made from love, but also one that fate will soon put to the cruelest test. A subtle warning. Weeks later, Emily finds a lipstick-stained wine glass in the dishwasher. It's not hers. When she asks Daniel, he smiles casually. "Oh, Claire came over while you were out. We had a drink, talked about her job hunt." Emily nods, forcing a smile. It makes sense. Claire has been struggling to find work. And Daniel, with his financial expertise, always offers advice. Still, something lingers. Late at night, Emily lies awake, staring at the ceiling while Daniel snores softly beside her. She reminds herself, trust. Marriage is built on trust. But the unease grows, like a shadow creeping across her once perfect life. One evening, as Emily paints in her attic, she hears faint laughter drifting up from downstairs. She tiptoes down and finds Daniel on the phone, smiling in a way she hasn't seen in months. When he notices her, he quickly ends the call. "Work thing," he mutters. Emily wants to believe him. She tells herself not to overthink, not to let paranoia poison her marriage. But deep down, a storm is gathering. And when it finally breaks, it will shatter her world into pieces so sharp they will cut her to the bone. The house was silent that night. Only the ticking of the clock and the soft breaths of my daughter filled the air. I sat in the living room, sorting through papers, when my husband's phone lit up with a message. It wasn't meant for me, but fate has a cruel way of showing the truth. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. My fingers froze. My heartbeat stumbled. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Maybe it was spam, maybe a wrong number, until I saw the names signed at the bottom. It was from my best friend. Doubt turns into certainty. For the next few days, I watched closely. Suddenly, the little things I had ignored began to cut like knives. Every time she called, my husband picked up instantly. Whenever I entered the room, their conversations would die in silence. Sometimes his shirt carried the faint trace of her perfume. I told myself, don't be paranoid. Don't destroy your marriage over suspicion. But deep down, the ground beneath my feet was already crumbling. One afternoon, I came home earlier than expected after picking my daughter up from school. Through the half-open curtains, I saw them. My husband. My best friend. In each other's arms. The kind of embrace that should only exist between a husband and wife. The air left my lungs. My chest burned, my knees weakened. Tears blurred my vision, but no sound escaped my throat. I didn't scream. I didn't rush inside. I just stood there, watching the life I built collapse in front of me. That night, I said nothing. I simply waited. The next morning, I asked him directly. At first, he denied it. You're imagining things. You misunderstood. But when I showed him the message, his face drained of color. After a long silence, he lowered his head and whispered the words that killed me. Yes. I love her. It wasn't just my husband's betrayal, it was hers. The woman who knew every secret, every fear, every dream of mine. My closest friend. Together, they had ripped my heart out. I locked myself in the bathroom that night. I cried until my throat burned. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, eyes swollen, face broken. I kept asking myself, how could the two people I trusted most be the ones to destroy me? What did I do to deserve this? It felt like the end of me. But what I didn't know then, was that this wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of something darker. Stronger. The night they betrayed me was the night I was reborn. And every tear I shed, would one day become their poison. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. But betrayal is not a wound that time heals. It's a poison that spreads, killing every part of you slowly. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. My body grew weaker, but my mind was trapped in an endless loop of that moment, of those words. Yes, I love her. At work, I became a ghost. My colleagues whispered behind my back. I could feel their pity, their judgment. My friends stopped calling, maybe because they didn't know what to say, or maybe because they already knew. But the worst part was home. He was still there. Living under the same roof. Talking to me like nothing had happened. Every time he touched his phone, I knew it was her. Every time he smiled to himself, I knew who he was thinking about. And every time he came home late, I didn't need an explanation. The house that once echoed with laughter now felt like a cage. A prison built from broken vows and shattered trust. And I was the prisoner. My best friend, No, the woman I used to call my best friend. She didn't even have the decency to face me. She avoided me completely. But I knew. I knew she was slipping into my life, piece by piece, like a snake curling around its prey. She had my husband. Soon, I realized, she wanted my life too. One by one, I lost everything. Friends stopped visiting. Family grew distant. My husband's attention, his affection, his loyalty, all gone. And my daughter, my sweet little girl, even she began to sense the cracks. She would ask, "Mommy, why are you always sad?" I couldn't answer. Because how could I explain to her that her father had chosen another woman, someone I once trusted with her life, over us? One night, I found myself sitting on the floor of the bathroom again, staring at a bottle of sleeping pills. The thought crept into my mind, maybe if I just disappear, they'll finally be happy. Maybe that's what they wanted all along. But then, a sound stopped me. It was my daughter, knocking on the door, her little voice trembling. "Mommy? Are you okay? Please don't cry." In that moment, I realized something. I couldn't give up. Not for her. Not when they had already taken so much from me. If I ended my story here, they would win. As I held my daughter in my arms that night, something inside me shifted. The woman who once begged for love, who once cried for answers, who once broke herself to keep a marriage alive, she died that night. In her place, someone new was born. Someone colder. Smarter. Patient. Because I finally understood. The only way to stop the poison of betrayal was to become the poison myself. And so, my revenge began, not with rage, but with silence. Not with chaos, but with calculation. I would make them believe they had won. I would let them laugh, let them grow comfortable, let them think they had destroyed me completely. And then, when the time was right, I would destroy them both. Revenge is not taken in anger. It is crafted in silence. I began observing them, quietly, carefully. Every smile they shared, every secret glance, every little lie he told me. I collected them like pieces of evidence. But I didn't confront them. No. That's what they expected me to do. They thought I was weak, broken, drowning in my misery. And I let them believe it. Playing the part. At home, I played the role of the defeated wife. Silent. Sad. Invisible. I stopped asking questions. I stopped demanding answers. I became background noise. And they fell for it. They grew bolder. Careless. They forgot that a quiet woman is the most dangerous woman of all. While they were busy in their little affair, I started rebuilding myself piece by piece. I joined a gym, told him it was to clear my head. In truth, I was building strength. I reconnected with old colleagues, forming bonds he didn't know about. I studied financial records, hidden accounts, and little things he thought I would never notice. Every night, while he texted her in secret, I sat quietly in the dark, planning. One evening, he came home smelling of her perfume. He smiled, kissed our daughter goodnight, and turned to me with fake concern. "You should try to be happy again, for her." I smiled. A small, fragile smile. And whispered, "You're right." Inside, my mind was on fire. Because what he didn't realize was that I was already happy. Not because of him. Not because of her. But because I had a plan. And once it was complete, their happiness would become their greatest mistake. Revenge, when it begins, does not arrive with thunder. It comes like a whisper. A small shift in the wind, a quiet shadow in the dark. And my revenge began, silently. He thought I never paid attention to money. He thought I was the kind of wife who simply signed where he told me to, who never asked questions. But while he was busy sneaking around with her, I was sneaking into his accounts. Late at night, when he was asleep, I studied every transaction. Every withdrawal. Every secret he thought he could hide. And then, little by little, I began to move pieces. I redirected funds. I planted false trails. I made quiet calls to lawyers who specialized in divorce settlements. So when the time came, he wouldn't just lose me. He would lose everything. But I wasn't finished with her. No. She didn't just take my husband, she took my best friend, my sister in spirit. And for that betrayal, her punishment had to be worse. I began feeding her little lies. At first, harmless things. A casual mention that he was under investigation at work. A fake message that someone had seen them together. The paranoia began to grow. Slowly, she started doubting him, questioning him. And I watched from the shadows as the cracks began to spread between them. In front of them, I played my role perfectly. The broken wife. The silent, weak woman. I let them think they had destroyed me. I let them laugh behind my back. But every time they smiled, every time they touched, every time they thought they were safe, it only fueled me more. Because I knew the truth. Their story wasn't a love story. It was a countdown. And soon, very soon, their time would run out. Every lie has an expiration date. And theirs was about to run out. I waited until their guard was completely down. Until they believed the weak, broken version of me was real. Then I struck. One morning, Daniel received an email from his company's HR department. A notice about financial discrepancies. Of course, it wasn't real. It was something I had carefully designed, slipped into his inbox when he wasn't looking. But the panic on his face, priceless. Meanwhile, Claire was already on edge. The rumors I planted had grown roots. She started accusing him, asking where he'd been, who he was with, what he was hiding. I didn't have to say a word. They were destroying each other for me. And then came the night I had been waiting for. I accidentally left a message open on Daniel's laptop, an anonymous email with pictures of him and Claire together. When he came home, I was sitting quietly, my eyes red as though I'd been crying. He panicked. Tried to explain. Tried to tell me it was just a mistake. But before he could finish, Claire walked in. I had invited her. The look on both their faces when they realized the trap, that I knew everything, that I had played them both, was the sweetest satisfaction I had ever felt. The argument that followed was chaos. Screaming, accusations, tears. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply stood up, looked them both in the eye, and said, "You thought you broke me. But you only made me stronger. And tonight, you both lose." Revenge isn't complete when they suffer. It's complete when they lose everything. The morning after that confrontation, Daniel thought the worst was over. He thought the secret was out, and we could move on. But I had been preparing for months. That very day, divorce papers were delivered to his office, along with documents proving his hidden accounts, secret debts, and workplace violations. I didn't just leave him. I exposed him. Within a week, he was suspended from work. His reputation, gone. His career, finished. As for Claire, she never saw it coming. I leaked just enough of her personal messages, her secrets, her lies, straight to the people who trusted her most. Clients, friends, even her own family. The woman who once smiled in my face while stabbing me in the back. Now she couldn't even walk into a room without whispers behind her. Her name became poison. Weeks later, they came to me. Broken. Desperate. Daniel begged. Claire cried. But I only smiled. You both thought you took my life away, I told them. But all you really did was hand me the power to destroy yours. And with that, I walked away. Now, I live free. Stronger than ever. Not as the woman they betrayed, but as the woman who turned betrayal into fire. Because revenge, when done right, isn't just justice. It's rebirth. Revenge was never my plan. All I ever wanted was love, loyalty, and honesty. But when the people I trusted most shattered my world, I had a choice. To stay broken, or to rise. I chose to rise. Looking back, I realized something important. Revenge didn't just punish them, it freed me. It taught me who I really am. A woman who will never again let betrayal define her. I don't live in their shadows anymore. I don't carry their lies. I carry strength. If you're listening to my story, maybe you've been hurt too. Maybe someone broke your trust, tore your heart apart, left you in pieces. But hear me now. You are not powerless. You are not weak. Your pain can either bury you, or it can build you into someone unstoppable. Daniel and Claire, they became just a chapter in my story. But me? I became the author of my own ending. And that ending is not about revenge anymore. It's about freedom.